What is up? What is up, everybody? Oh, sorry again about being late. But again, that means I'm running right on time, I guess. Anyway, yes, the time did mess with me a little bit. But anyway, that's a bunch of excuses, and we're running late, so we'll jump right into it. I was in Greg's chat the other night, and I honestly planned on talking about something else, but I seen the Google searches popping up in the chat, and so I kind of asked around a little bit, and it sounded like maybe I should do a show on it. So it's kind of impromptu. So, and y'all will probably be able to tell that as we go along, but it is pretty important, and it I think it holds a lot more weight than what a lot of people give it. You've had several people. Gary from Paramount Tactical is one of the big ones, but there have been several people out there that have kind of poo-pooed on the idea and acted like that there's just absolutely nothing to it, that you can't replicate it, and therefore doesn't really mean anything at all. But that's actually not the truth. That's very far from the truth. This isn't a Baron Coleman thing. And this isn't something that just came about, during this Charlie Kirk investigation. I've got a few notes put together that I'm going to go to here and there. So if it looks like I'm reading from something, there's a good chance that I probably am. So, but anyway, I did have some notes. Let's see uh, on the uses of Google Trends. Yeah, so some people have suggested that looking at Google Trend data in connection with a crime or major event is somehow irresponsible or that it shouldn't even be considered. But the reality is that tools like Google Trends are actually used in legitimate research and intelligence analysis. It's a public tool that shows aggregated search interest over time and by region. It doesn't identify individual users. What it shows are patterns in public search behavior. Researchers have used it to track things like emerging drug trends, public safety concerns, and even shifts in certain types of crime. In some cases, search interest has been shown to correlate with actual crime statistics, making it useful as an early indicator of broader patterns. I'll have to make that just a little bit bigger. Um, and we've even seen this come up in recent real investigations. In the suspected kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie, investigators and analysis pointed to online search data showing searches for her home address and related information before she disappeared. Now, that doesn't mean every spike in search activity proves anything, but it does show that examining search patterns isn't a fringe idea. It's a legitimate analytical tool people use to understand trends and patterns in public behavior. And if you'll notice, people like Gary that I'm aware of have not mentioned this Nancy Guthrie case at all, because um, I know he's been poo-pooing on it a lot. Talk about how crazy and crackpot of an idea it is, but actually, as I just said, law enforcement actually used it in the investigation. Now, can that alone convict somebody of something? No, absolutely not. But it is an actual legitimate tool, and it's not just some crazy idea, and it's definitely not just something that Baron Coleman dreamed up. So, um, speak of the devil. Let's see. I've got a bunch from Baron Coleman tonight. We're going to listen to quite a bit from him. Probably won't go through the whole thing, but we are definitely going to hear from Baron, and I'm going to go ahead and bring him up and let's go ahead and hear him explain the Google search trends. All right. Hold, please.
And I said, hey, have you ever heard of this search functionality in Google called Google Trends? And several of them were like, no, never heard of it. What is it? What does it do? Some of them were like, I kind of heard of it, but I don't really know what it was. I first heard of it when I was advising for a grocery store chain a decade and a half ago, probably a long time ago. And I was a very small member of a team, but I was part of a team, and the team had a very sophisticated guy on it, and he had discovered this functionality on Google where you could go and you could sort of view what it was people were searching.
And hey, thank y'all, everybody in the chat. And again, I apologize. I hate doing that, but I'm glad y'all are in there, and we're gonna make the most of it and have a good time anyway.
And you could get trends related to it. And so I'll demonstrate that for you on something random, but I'll give you an idea of how it works, and then I'll explain where I first applied this to any sort of breaking national story, and then I'll explain how I applied it to Charlie Kirk, and then I'll explain one of the most disturbing things I've come across in a very, very long time. A very long time. And I've discovered a lot of disturbing things. A quick Google search of my name will reveal some of the garbage I've been involved with over the course of my life. But this potentially takes the cake. This potentially is one of the more disturbing things I've ever been involved in. So let me show you briefly. And for those of you who already know, this is a little primer, but that's fine. I want to show you briefly how this search functionality works so that as I'm saying things, you guys understand what I'm talking about. If you go to up here, trends.google.com, you'll get this search window right here, and I can search anything. You can see I search Broncos versus Atlanta Braves, right? I can search Atlanta Braves, and I can click Explore. Well, that's a terrible. Oh, because I didn't put this. All right, Atlanta Braves, and it gives me an index, and this is set for over the last 24 hours. So I can see over the United States. That's what this is up here. Over the last 24 hours, in all categories of web searches, when the Braves were searched the most over the geographically limited right here, the United States, and you can make it worldwide. You can make it anything you want. So let's start with the United States. Let's say the past week. Over the last week, the moment the Atlanta Braves were searched more than anything else was September 9th at 8 p.m. For whatever reason, September 9th at 8 p.m., across the United States, more people were interested in Googling the Atlanta Braves than at any other time. You'll notice the waking and sleeping and all this, and probably some games in here or whatever. But it's indexed at 100, being the most searches at any given time in the time frame you've referenced here. And again, I will explain why this is important, and maybe you can already see where I'm going, and you understand why this is so disturbing. It may be the most disturbing set of facts about the Charlie Kirk assassination that I've come across. And if I broaden this out to 30 days, you'll notice that now it is August 23rd, 2025 was the day that the Atlanta Braves were the most searched of the last 30 days. And then as they have gone on a little bit of a losing streak or a slide, you can see interest in the Atlanta Braves has waned over time. And it reached a low right here of 34 on September 12th. And what that means is only 34% of the searches were run on that day relative to the August 23rd peak of 100. It's indexed to 100 if you don't know what that means. That doesn't mean there were 100 searches on this day. It means there were some number of searches, but it's the most number of searches in the last 30 days. This doesn't mean there were 34 searches or 35 searches. It means there were 34% of the number of searches that were to the index of 100. That's how it works. That's across the United States. And
that's a very important point, that it is indexed, to 100. That 100 number, it literally just is, 100%, or that is the highest amount of searches over a given amount of time. So, the 34, like he's saying, is 34% of that 100, which just means the highest point that it was searched.
Limit it to the Atlanta metro market, and I'll get a different set of numbers. I can limit it to the state of Georgia, and I'll get another set of numbers. They look the same because interest sort of is across the board. I could probably go to, let's say, the state of New York, for example. And I could see here, August 24th it was. And there's a low of actually 0 right here in the state of New York. They don't like the Atlanta Braves, apparently, on that particular day. That's how Google Trends works. Now, I first came across Google Trends as an item of national prominence, or in the breaking of a nationally prominent story. Let me say it that way. Back in the wake of the Donald Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. The guy's name that I was Google Trend searching was Thomas Matthew Crooks. He was the alleged shooter that was on the ARG building. And when I did a Google Trend search, I thought, well, that's really weird. Because I started doing it in nationally. And of course, as you would imagine, there was no interest in Thomas Matthew Crooks nationally in 1 day, 5 days, 7 days, 30 days, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, no interest nationally in Thomas Matthew Crooks until the day of the Butler shooting. Because on that day, everybody learned his name. And what did he do? The same thing we all do. We all run to Google and we type in Thomas Matthew Crooks. And so on the day of the Butler shooting, there was a gigantic spike. And so I thought, let me drill down on this, though, with this search functionality. I can limit it to custom date ranges. I can do 2004 to present, basically all of Google searches. I could do a custom range, and I could cut it to any particular dates I want to. And so I started doing that. And I started doing custom ranges around particular geographic locations. And then news broke in the days after the Donald Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. Whether credible or not, I don't know, but news broke that there were some cell phones that pinged at Thomas Matthew Crooks' house. Again, I don't know if that's true, but that was what the news was saying. And those cell phone pings were linked to Washington, D.C. They also pinged in Washington, D.C. So I thought, let me do something random. Let me look and see if anyone in Washington, D.C. had been searching Thomas Matthew Crooks before the shooting. So I pull up the dates and I exclude the shooting date. And lo and behold, there were hits. And I thought, that's weird. That's such an unusual name. There can't be a lot of Thomas Matthew Crooks. Why were they searching Thomas Matthew Crooks in the year or so, a few times, not every day, but a couple of hits in the Washington, D.C. area? So I thought, well, maybe that's just happens. So let me try some other jurisdictions. And I tried New York, and I tried California, and I tried Pennsylvania, and I tried Texas, and I tried Florida. I tried big states across the country, and I got no hits. And I kept coming back to Washington, D.C., and I thought, why would it be hitting in Washington, D.C., obviously in Pennsylvania as well, but not hitting in any of these other states? Let me try Alabama. I had long contacts in Alabama. I lived there for 20 years. So I tried Alabama, and lo and behold, there were hits. And so if you search, we'll just keep using the Atlanta Braves here for a second, but if you look up at Alabama, you'll notice I can take Alabama and I can break it down by metro area. Birmingham, Columbus, Georgia, Dothan, Huntsville, Meridian, Mississippi. So West Alabama, Mobile, the Bay Area, Central West Alabama, the Selma area, Montgomery.
Huntsville.
And so I started clicking, where are these searches coming from in Alabama? Who in Alabama is interested in Thomas Matthew Crooks? And what I found was the searches were limited to the Huntsville, Decatur, Florence area. Why would someone in Huntsville be worried about Thomas Matthew Crooks or be searching Thomas Matthew Crooks? And the only places on earth I could find who were searching Thomas Matthew Crooks before the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting were Washington, D.C. and Huntsville, Alabama.
Weird.
And so my mind gets curious. What is the connection? There doesn't have to be a connection, but there probably is a connection. If it's not in California, it's not in Pennsylvania, it's not in Florida, it's not in Texas, and it's not in Indiana, and it's not in Ohio, and it's not in New York, but it's in Huntsville, Alabama, and Washington, D.C. What is the connection?
I wonder.
And then I start to remember, wait a minute. The FBI has a headquarters in Washington, D.C., obviously, but they also have a massive facility in Huntsville, Alabama. Maybe that's the connection. Maybe someone in the FBI was searching Thomas Matthew Crooks before the Trump shooting, which would be remarkable, by the way. Which would be remarkable, but I can't prove that. That's just one data point. Out of all the trillions of data points on earth, that's just one. And I have a saying, if something happens once, it's a random occurrence, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. 3 times is a pattern. And I only had the one name to go by because there were no known accomplices or alleged accomplices. There were people speculating, oh, there was a second shooter, or there was a third shooter, or there was a team over here, or there was a team over there. There were all these things. Someone must have been involved. Someone must have been helping him, but there were no names. I only had the one name to go on, and that's just a random occurrence. Even though it's a little weird that it was in Washington, D.C., and a little weird that it was in Huntsville, all I had to go on was that. And I've done this with other things. As school shooters have popped up, as mass casualty events have popped up, I have searched the names of the people. And I don't usually get any hits. Most people, for whatever reason, just aren't searched that much. Now, maybe if you're on the radio or you're on television or you have a podcast or you're a sports figure or you're on a movie, or you're a politician, your name probably does get searched some. But most people name, William Francis Sanderson, he's probably not searched all that much. Not enough to show up at a blip in random cities. And then the Charlie Kirk shooting happened. And I kind of sat there for a while and I thought, do you want to do the Google search for the shooter? Do you want to be armed with this information? Do you really want to know this? This is a good comment here. How stupid are the agents of the FBI? I don't know that these are agents of the FBI. I will draw no conclusions tonight. I'm only laying out facts. I will not say this is definitive proof someone at the I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is giving you the facts and you can draw your own conclusions. But incognito mode will not stop the Google trends from showing up. It will not stop. If you use incognito mode in Huntsville, Alabama, it will still show up as a Huntsville, Alabama search. Now, if you used a VPN and you set it to Albania, maybe. But how do most people do their jobs? And most people don't know this functionality exists. I'm probably spoiling it from ever being used again, frankly.
Yes, Annie, you are correct. It is very entertaining, even with no sound. It's really good at double speed
in a high profile event. But I think this is important. That was one of the considerations I had with people as I talked about whether to go public with this.
Hey, Miss Susan.
Information. Not that a trillion people are going to find out about this, but just in case. I probably am spoiling my ability to ever do this again. But I think it's that important because the information I found is that disturbing, and I'm going to give it to you in a minute. It is that disturbing. Oh, you're telling me the shooter? Hey, it's worse. Wait. Boy, you're going to be shocked if you think it's just the shooter's name showing up in different locations. It's bad. It's bad. So let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. I got to get rid of the Atlanta Braves search because that's irrelevant. So let me show you the first search I ran.
That's right, Annie, including myself, and I apologize again.
Again, the shooter's name was identified on September 11th, or maybe early September 12th. Early September 12th, The shooter's name is identified. It was Tyler James Robinson. So I did a search for Tyler James Robinson nationally over the entire United States for the past 7 days. And you'll notice the gigantic spike right after the news broke. But I noticed right over here, there was a little blip on September 9th at 7 p.m. Damn, that's weird. And keep in mind, this is a blip large enough to show up on an index at a 2. Now, granted, I'm going to keep going. You're going to be surprised by what I show you here in a few minutes. It's a blip large enough to show up as a 2 the day before the Kirk shooting. The day before the Kirk shooting, someone in the United States searched Tyler James Robinson, the full name, first, middle, last name of the shooter. Now, what's interesting about that is I've not seen him listed anywhere as Tyler James Robinson. I've seen Tyler Robinson a lot. I've seen his mom's name. I think her name was Amber or something. She didn't do anything, so I'm not blaming her. So I probably should have named her, but it's public. I've seen her dad's name. I've seen his dad's name. I've seen his roommate's name. I've seen all these other things. But I've not seen anywhere where it said Tyler James Robinson. I had to do some sleuthing to figure that out. But it showed up there the evening before the Kirk shooting. So I thought, where's it coming from? Surely not.
And, I just want to point this out. It's odd enough. It's odd enough for the name Tyler Robinson to be searched like that beforehand, before anybody knew that, or before that name was, mixed up with Charlie Kirk. But for the full name, Tyler James Robinson, and yes, granted, I'm sure there are other Tyler James Robinsons in the United States. But for the name Tyler James Robinson to have been searched like that beforehand, to me, that is a really, you're welcome, Miss Susan. It's probably about time somebody did. But to me, that is just probably stand a better chance of getting struck by lightning, to be honest with you. And I guess I could be wrong on that, but it just seems very odd that full name, Tyler James Robinson, would be searched like that beforehand, before that name got, tied up, mixed up with the Charlie Kirk incident.
Surely it's not going to. So I go back to my notes. And I look at where were the 2 places that Thomas Matthew Crooks showed up in a Google trend search before the shooting?
Washington, D.C., Huntsville, Alabama.
Well, there's Washington, D.C. at 11 a.m., the day before the Charlie Kirk shooting. And you'll see here where the news finally broke that it was, in fact, Tyler James Robinson. But notice that. That's weird. That's going to be a recurring theme today. That's weird. You're telling me at 11 a.m., the day before the shooting? Now, keep in mind, Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 10th. Someone in Washington, D.C. metro area is searching Tyler James Robinson the day before the shooting? Why? You can see clearly when the news broke. Why were they searching the day before? I go back to my notes. I take notes when I do this kind of stuff, sleuthing around. I go back to my notes. Oh, it wasn't just Washington, D.C. I forgot. It was also Huntsville. Surely not. I think to myself, before I even do the search, Baron, if this shows up in Huntsville, I'm going to start to panic. I will officially start to panic if this shows up in, oh, there it is.
Get ready to panic.
4 p.m. the day before the Charlie Kirk shooting, Huntsville, Alabama. Tyler James Robinson. Again, I'm not drawing a conclusion. I'm not telling you that somebody worked at a particular place. What I am telling you is somebody searched him in Huntsville. A Huntsville IP searched for Tyler James Robinson about the same time a Washington, D.C. metro area search for Tyler James Robinson. Well, now we're really getting weird.
And again, it's not only the fact that they were searched in those locations. What really, really makes it odd is the fact that they were searched in those same 2 locations. But not only that, searched in the same time period. Yeah, it'd be one thing if they were searched 6 months apart or even a month apart. But for them both to have been searched in those 2 particular places, basically at the same time, I mean, the chances of that, you'd stand more of a chance of hitting the lottery. I mean, there's 350 million people in the United States. So the chances that that full name, Tyler James Robinson, would be searched both in those two locations and nationwide in those two locations only at the same time, the day before September the 10th, that is just the chances are so minute.
Are you telling me there could be more, though?
There could always be more.
Is it possible? Well, let me drill down not just to the DC metro area, but the District of Columbia itself. Here again is where the news broke. Everybody on the planet went and searched Tyler Robinson. And you'll notice the third name searches kind of fell off the map. But look at that. Look how strong of a signal that is in Washington, D.C. the night before the Charlie Kirk assassination. The night before the Charlie Kirk assassination in Washington, D.C., in the D.C. metro area, and in Huntsville, you're getting this strong of a signal. Someone is searching the name Tyler James Robinson.
Right. Got to make sure and brush up on things. Brush up on their patsy boy before the big day.
There, Tyler James Robinson. Well, now this is just bananas, I tell myself. Surely it has to stop here. Surely it has to stop here. And I even put my computer down. I closed the clamshell on the MacBook and I thought, should I just stop? You know, there's a difference between what you can do and what you should do. Should I do any more searches? Because at this point, I'm getting a little...
Yeah, you definitely should.
Suspicious about where these people, or why these people might have been doing the searches. And again, I will not draw conclusions here. I can give you options. Maybe people work at government.
I don't care what he says. He's drawn some conclusions. He may not share those conclusions even, but trust me, he's drawn some conclusions, as have I.
Agencies, maybe they work at private enterprise. Maybe they work for foreign states. Maybe they work, who knows why.
He knows what all this means.
They're doing the searches or who they work for when they're doing the searches. Maybe it's just somebody with a burning desire, 9 o'clock the day before a Charlie Kirk assassination, to look up Tyler James Robinson for no apparent reason. Maybe. And then I get a weird piece of information. The night of the assassination, I start seeing everybody on Facebook saying, oh, there's a plane and its transponder went off. And I thought, nonsense. This is confirmation bias. Surely this is confirmation bias. They're listing the name of the guy who owns the plane. They're listing the tail number of the plane. They're listing the company the guy works for. And I'm thinking, this cannot have anything to do with it. And I'll tell you the story real quickly. About an hour after the assassination, a random plane owned by a random guy takes off from Provo, Utah, about an hour away, or 30 minutes away, however far away it is. And it flies south, and it looks like it's heading towards Arizona. But before it gets to the Utah-Arizona border, it looks to me like it turns its transponder off based on the flight pattern. Again, I cannot confirm all that. I wasn't on the plane, and I am not an aviation professional, going solely by what people were saying. But when
you know, Miss Susan, I'm afraid you're going to be correct. Now, do I necessarily think that it is going to be our government in any kind of official capacity? Maybe. Probably not. Maybe though. But I do believe when it's all said and done, if and when we finally get to the truth, which I feel like we are going to get there, I feel like we're at least going to find out that some rogue elements in our government were very much involved. Again, John F. Kennedy, I mean, same deal. You know, it wasn't United States policy, but rogue elements in the government. I mean, you've got to figure, we're talking about the FBI now, so, you know, I forget now how many it is. It's like 40,000 agents. That's a lot of people. Some of those people have been there forever, with all the connections and all the power that comes with those positions, especially some of the higher up positions. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard for them to, you know, coordinate something like this or be a part of coordinating something like this. And honestly, that's a terrifying thought. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm sure you're right. In some shape, form, or fashion, yes, I believe we will find that out.
Those hits on Tyler James Robinson, I thought, I gotta look. I gotta know. Is it possible?
I would have had to look too, you know. I'd have to know.
That the owner of the plane, a guy named Derek Maxfield, and I am not accusing him of anything, by the way, this is not an accusation. This is me simply telling you what is in Google Trends. Just transmitting factual information. No opinion. No allegation of fact other than what I can show right here.
Public information.
A guy named Derek Maxfield is associated, either owns the LLC or is associated with the LLC that allegedly owns the plane, that allegedly turned his transponder off, that allegedly caused people to freak out on Facebook and act like it could have something to do with it. No accusations. But I do the Google Trends search anyway.
This is definitely not the John Kennedy days. Again, I'm gonna say it again. I've said it thousands of times. Look how long it took just to get the Zapruder film. Look how long it took to even just confirm some of the other theories that were floating around there. I mean, literally before the end of the day, people were bringing up stuff. There was stuff flying around. I mean, it was almost immediately. All the sleuths went to work immediately, and it's just crazy. It's sad in a way, but it's also a good thing, because what's sad is that all of these people knew that they had better get on it, because we probably wouldn't get any legit answers any other way.
In Washington, D.C. area. And I see here where everybody starts freaking out, saying that the transponder got turned off. I think, what the hell is this? Why was someone in the Washington, D.C. metro area searching for Derek Maxfield?
There's the blip.
On September 7th, and then not again until the name breaks with the weird plane thing. That's just weird. That's just weird. But maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe there's nothing more to it. You know what? Instead of popping off every time, I'm just going to do this. This is easier, I think. Well, that's just the Washington, D.C. metro area, though. Maybe it's people in Maryland. Maybe it's... So let me drill down and see Huntsville, Alabama. Lo and behold, there's this Huntsville connection again. What the hell's going on in Huntsville, Alabama? Trust me, guys, I looked a lot of places. I didn't see any. I cannot tell you without a doubt there's not a single hit.
Isn't that a question we would all love to get have an answer to? What the hell is going on there?
Prior to the shooting, anywhere else, but I can tell you I looked a lot of places. You see the hit here where it became public about it, and then look back here and you think that's just friggin' weird. This is 10 a.m. the day before.
That's a big hit. I mean, that hit is almost as big as the hit once it became public. So that is not just some random person accidentally typing in, Derek Maxfield.
In Huntsville, Alabama. Well, what about Utah? Okay, well, here are the hits in Utah from where the news started breaking the night of September 10th and on the next few days. But why? What is this? This is 2 days before the shooting at 8 a.m. Again,
big
the day before the shooting at 10 a.m. What? And then I just drill it right down to the District of Columbia. I exclude all the other dates. In the morning of the shooting, about 3 hours before the shooting, I get a hit there. Well, I think, maybe they're just looking for him. And again, I'm making no definitive conclusions by any of this. I wasn't making a definitive conclusion with Tyler James Robinson back here. And I'm not making a definitive conclusion here where you see a little blip days before the shooting in Washington, D.C. I don't know what it means. But the search continues. I have to know more. So I go to the tail number of the plane in 888 KG, November 888 Kilo Golf. And you can see here where the news breaks about the plane. The evening of September 10th, the evening after the shooting, you can see the news break here about the plane, and everybody starts rushing to look at it as they come across it on their Facebook and Twitter feeds and all this. But what is it in Utah? Now, granted, the plane's based in Utah. But why the interest in this plane? There's no other interest before. And so I go to Arizona. Remember, he looked like the plane was headed to Arizona, and all of a sudden there's a hit there.
And, a lot of these were strictly Washington, D.C., Huntsville, Alabama, and then, of course, we all know that there were several that were searched, from the location of our greatest ally. Yes, Miss Susan, I do too. He's the best. Barron's the man. And one reason why I wanted to go back over this is because he is the man, and he has been nonstop, and he has covered so much. But I do feel like this Google thing is important, and there's a lot of people that are newer, just coming on board, that really don't even know about the Google thing, and of course others that, have heard a lot of things since, and doesn't hurt to just kind of brush up on it. But anyway. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So, but some of these do have a blip in Utah, and it may not seem like that makes any sense, but if you think about it, especially if this were a huge organized thing, yes, most of the planning probably would be going on in DC, Huntsville, and over there with our greatest ally. But you would have to have someone in the Utah state government also in on this. Maybe the governor himself, Mr. Cox, possibly somebody in the prosecutor's office. So it doesn't really surprise me, especially that on some of these there's hits in Utah just before.
2 days before the shooting. 3 days. Yeah, 2 days before the shooting. Utah was the day before the shooting. Oh, getting ahead of myself. Again, no accusations, no allegations, just showing you what the Google Trend search show. I've downloaded all this data. I've saved all the screenshots. They may have no value. Maybe total coincidence. Yep.
I don't believe in coincidences, just for the record. Especially not when it's this many in a row that are this specific.
If you're walking through the grocery store and you look and you see a penny on the floor and you pick it up, someone dropped a penny. But if you look up about 20 feet, there's another penny, you think, oh, someone dropped 2 pennies. That's weird. And you look up another 20 feet, there's another penny. And you think, 3 pennies, all 20 feet apart. That's really weird.
We're getting there, Miss Susan. I mean, and especially with people like Baron Coleman, Candace Owens, and others on our side, we'll get there. We'll get there. We are well on our way.
Then you go around the corner, there's another penny, and another penny, and another penny, and another. At some point, someone's not just dropping pennies, but I don't know that for a fact. Maybe they have a hole in their pocket that very consistently allows 1 penny at a time to come out at the pace they're walking. I don't know that. Well, this took place on the campus of, oh, actually, I've got one more here, I think. Yeah. Okay, so here's what I did here. This November 888 Kilo Golf here. I excluded, you'll notice the date here. I excluded everything after September 1 in the Washington, D.C. area. Because I asked myself, and I did this with several of the other ones, and I can go through examples if you want me to, just so you can kind of see how this works. But I asked myself, is it possible I'm getting some kind of statistical noise around the shooting, around the assassination attempt? So I take the plane. This was the first one I did it with. I took the plane. I thought, okay, let me just exclude everything within a week of the shooting. The shooting took place on September 10th. I go back and I say, arbitrarily, I'm going to just select September 1 for no reason whatsoever. And I'm going to go back a year and accidentally go back 13 months, whatever. And you'll notice in the Washington, D.C. area for November 888 Kilo Golf, there is no interest whatsoever in this plane in that area. No statistically relevant interest until the week and a half before the shooting. And all of a sudden, there's keen interest in November 888 Kilo Golf in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Now, we could keep this same date range. I'll do this live. And we could do Utah. Same date range. No data. Meaning, no statistically relevant quantity of searches on November 888 Kilo Golf in the 13 months leading up to the shooting, excluding the 10 days before the shooting, which was the exact same thing I did for the Washington, D.C. metro area. I don't even know if I've done District of Columbia alone here. Let me try this live. We are researching live on air. Okay, not in District of Columbia. But if you go to the Washington, D.C. metro area, oh, it has changed. Are they cleaning it up on the fly? You guys saw it. It was there. You are kidding me. It is gone. It was there. I don't know what else to do. I've already downloaded the data, so it doesn't matter. Let's go to Utah Valley University, the site of the scene. The Washington, D.C. metro area. Again, I excluded the day of the shooting here because there was so much interest. It was messing up all the statistics. But in the 3 weeks leading up to the shooting, no interest in Utah Valley University in the Washington, D.C. metro area. On September 2nd, all of a sudden we have some interest. September 3rd, a little more interest. September 7th, peak interest, 3 days before the shooting. The next day, a little interest and then back down. But I think maybe someone's going to college. It's probably a fine school. It looked beautiful on campus. The pictures I've seen on campus look stunning. I have no idea. I've never heard of it before. Well, let's get out of the Utah Valley University and let me go to what I think is the most stunning fact yet. The fact I think that could put it all together for people who want to draw conclusions. I don't want to draw conclusions. But for those who feel compelled to draw conclusions, let me show you something pretty wild. For the first day or so after the shooting, we were told Tyler James Robinson, the alleged assassin, lived with his parents. In fact, his dad's the one that turned him in. And in the last couple of days, news has broken that no, in fact, he had a roommate. And the alleged roommate's name, allegedly, is Lance Twiggs. I cannot put allegedly on this enough. The roommate's alleged name is Lance Twiggs. Twiggs, Twiggs, Lance. So I thought, sure, let me see. Let me just search Lance Twiggs. It's a weird enough name that if it popped up, someone's looking for that guy. Now, keep in mind, these people are alleged to be in radical, leftist groups.
I mean, let's see. I've known a few Lances over the years. That's not just a super uncommon name that I can think of. I've never met or ever known anybody with the last name Twiggs. So, especially putting the two together, Lance, yeah, common enough, but not just super common. Along with a last name like that, to me, that is going to be that's going to be really, really odd to find those hits in the same places on the same timeline. And yes, Miss Susan, I do too. I got a feeling, allegedly, my thoughts are that there's probably a better chance that Lance Twiggs was on that roof than Tyler Robinson. And I'm going to say what I've been saying from the get go. You know, I hate to see the boy railroaded if he didn't do what they're claiming he did. Do I think he's 100% innocent? I got a feeling he's not, but I just don't feel like he is alone guilty of this whole thing, like they're putting out that he is. If you look at pictures of Lance Twiggs, especially, see there at the first, all we got was this one picture of Lance Twiggs where he's wearing that stupid, whatever it was, that hoodie with the ears on it, you know, his furry hoodie. That's the only thing we've seen forever. But since we've gotten some pictures of him actually wearing normal clothes, and you know, Barron's covered this. There's been several people that's covered it, but Barron has covered the all the EMS, you know, all the emergency calls, dispatch stuff. And you know, there was more than one description of the guy on the roof dressed all in black and having shoulder length hair. That does not at all describe Tyler James Robinson, but it does describe Lance Twiggs. So anyway, interesting side note. Yes, I knew what you meant, Miss Susan. Yeah, I don't think Tyler is the one that actually did it. I think he was probably involved in some way. That's just my guess, allegedly, but we'll have to see.
And they're alleged to be doing radical things to their bodies. And I have no doubt if you're kind of wild and you're discussing on Discord, allegedly, shooting the assassination of a beloved public figure, I'm guessing you probably the guy someone might want to search from time to time. So I pull up Lance Twiggs and I get 2 hits in the Washington, D.C. metro area. But they're not recent. No, they're not recent at all. This is from January of 2023. This is almost 3 years ago. And I get another little blip here towards the end of 2023, almost 2 years ago. Somebody's radar blipped in the Washington, D.C. area on the roommate of the assassin 2 and 3 years ago. Again, I don't know who it was. Might be a guy.
Allie in the house. What's up, Miss Allie? We're going to have to get together, me, you, and Greg, or I'd be happy just me and you get together and do a show. I'm good anytime you are. But Greg had also mentioned it. Yeah. We'd all three love to do it. So yeah, I'm all in on that. We need to get together on it. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up in the chat. That's awesome. I watched yours earlier. I was live in the chat.
Guy that took a fancy to the roommate. Might be a girl that took a fancy to the roommate. Might be a cousin who was in town in Washington, D.C. and thought, I got to look up Lance Twiggs. Now, Lance Twiggs lives in Utah, presumably has for a long time. But somebody in the area took a keen interest on Lance Twiggs several years ago. So I start thinking, if I'm
And if I had to guess, this keen interest, I have a feeling that this probably had something to do with Discord. There are some terrible things that go on in Discord. It's not all bad, but yeah, more than likely, if I had to guess, this is allegedly, of course. If I had to guess, I would say that he was probably in some discussions on some less than legal subjects, and somebody was probably somebody was probably putting together a file, a way to something to hold over his head, to get him to cooperate, and that's how they. So that's how they get these people to be patsies. Most of the time, these patsies are not just jumping up and volunteering to be patsies. And especially in this day and age, one of the easiest things to get people on is, CP, that type of thing. Because sadly, it's become so prevalent, and it's easy to get people to do what you want them to do, because obviously they do not want that getting out there.
Doing all these searches in the Washington, D.C. area, and I'm plotting an assassination. What else might I need to search? I looked up Utah Valley University. I looked up the alleged, what some people were saying could possibly be a getaway vehicle.
Hey, anybody in the chat, would y'all like to see either me and Allie, or me and Allie and Greg all together on the live stream? Let's just see what everybody says.
I looked up the owner of the said vehicle. I looked up the shooter. What else? Well, if you go to the scene of the crime, there was a very unusually named building that the alleged shooter allegedly perched on. Let's just assume everything I say in this thing's alleged. It's called the Losee Center, L-O-S-E-E. Now, if you do a nationwide search for just the word Losee, you're going to get some hits in the Nevada area. I think there's a city or a road or something there named Losee. But the rest of the country is pretty stark when it comes to Losee. And if you go to Losee Center, very few people outside of the state of Utah have ever fancied what the Losee Center is. They've not Googled it if they have. But if you're planning to assassinate somebody and you're looking for good places to do the assassination and you want to know more about those places, you might Google them. You might.
Makes sense.
And if you pull up a map of the little courtyard where Charlie Kirk was assassinated and you look around and you think, well, that might not be a bad spot because you could run right off the northern corner of the building there and you're home free. You got a getaway car. So I looked it up. Now, this is a while ago. This was the Huntsville area. For some reason, mid to late spring, somebody takes a keen interest in the Losee Center in Huntsville, Alabama. And that's the only hit we get. Now, granted, see here, I've excluded the days.
And again, these are trends. So yes, the Losee Center is part of a complex, at UVU. One could kind of rationalize that and just be like, look, it's a public place. It's a school that lots of people go. And so there are therefore going to be searches for the Losee Center. But like I said, these are trends. And so when you have all these flat lines and then all of a sudden you get this blip, that means that there is, for whatever reason at this particular time, there is a special amount of interest. Something piqued the interest. So it means that obviously people don't search for the Losee Center specifically that often because of this flat line. So for some reason, in this particular time period, people in the Huntsville area decided they needed to check into that building. So, it's, like I said, this is way more important than what people give it credit for.
The day or two leading up to the shooting and the day of the shooting, because it's, again, all the statistical noise just ran all this stuff to basically zero. So if you want to see the index, you've got to exclude all that noise. And then I thought, surely not if they're in Huntsville, surely not in the Washington, D.C. Oh, gosh, here we are.
Yeah.
This is probably the wildest search that I was able to do. September 8th. You can see here where the shooting breaks. 3 p.m. He's shot. By 4 p.m., everybody on the planet is searching Losee Center, including people in the Washington, D.C. metro area. But I saw this blip and thought, why? Why on September 8th, 2 days before the shooting, is someone searching the Losee Center?
Wow. Why?
Why? Why? What is it they wanted to know? I'm not going to make the mistake I made a moment ago, but let me just give you an example here. I'm going to open a new tab. Well, I got to close my thing to open a new tab. Hold, please. Let me open a new tab and we'll do a Google search here. We'll do a trend search. Anybody want to name a topic? We'll do it together. If you name a topic, I'll do it. You got the comments here. May need to do the search for Baron Coleman. I don't think that's smart. I can try it, but I'm not going to do that. Accusations, none. If you want me to do a search, if you have any of these terms that have come up over the course of this investigation, you think, I sure would like to know what people are saying about this, I'll be happy to do the search live. If not, I'll do some myself. What about no, people aren't going to search a Mauser 98, are they? Was that what the shooting was? A 98 model Mauser? Let's try it. Mauser 98. Lots the last couple days. You'll see that. Lots of interest the last couple days. Let's go to the last 7 days. See, very little interest the morning of. That's kind of weird, actually.
Obviously, the FBI should have done it and, paid more attention to some of the images of a Mauser 98, seeing what it looked like before they put out a picture of a more modern 30-06 with a synthetic scope along with a rifle box, and led people to believe that that was the gun.
Because we have no interest, and then we have a little. Where's that interest coming from? Oh.
But historically, the FBI has a hell of a time with patsies and their guns. It's always the wrong gun. It was the wrong gun with JFK. It was the wrong gun with MLK. So anyway.
Oh, I had to exclude this because obviously Utah, Wyoming. Yeah, okay.
And Gary Melton says, well, if the FBI was just setting him up as a patsy, why wouldn't they just get the right gun? Well, you don't think they were smart enough to get the right gun? Well, they've never got the right gun in the past. So, I mean, why would they start now?
So it's a really fascinating tool, by the way. If you want to look in here, you can see what it is people are searching along with Mauser 98. 30-aught Springfield, Tyler Robinson Foundation. I never heard of that. Fascism. All fascists carry a Mauser 98. Length, dimension, sniper, Tyler Robinson. So you get all these.
Yeah, Miss Susan. He's a clown. Allegedly.
You get all these searches here. But let's exclude some time, shall we? Let's just do this just for this. I've not done this one, by the way. We're going to have to go back in time, and we're going to have to do it from before the shooting. So let's exclude it to September 9th. And so let's just do a national one. Let's do a month. Let's do April 10 to November 9. And let's just see. I don't know what this is going to show. It might show nothing or not enough information. I do not want to be like Geraldo, ripping open the safe, expecting to see great things. I don't know what this is going to show. Mm-hmm. I ran 1,000 searches. No, I didn't. I ran like 30 or 40 extra searches that you haven't seen. Some of them actually showed stuff. I only want to be on an hour. Okay, so this is interesting. Over the United States, in the month leading up, there was no interest in Mauser 98s until August 31st. And then there was a blip, and we really got a good hit on September 7th, 3 days before the shooting. Now, this is in the entire United States. In Pennsylvania, somebody must have been really excited about a Mauser 98. No interest in Utah. We can look at other subregions here. So let's change the jurisdiction here. Let's do it in the District of Columbia. Again, not making any guarantees, but there is a hit right there, Mauser 98 on August 27th, 2025. And it's the only time in the month that it was searched. Let's expand the.
And according to just as a little side note, according to Brian Harpo, I believe he said they started planning in earnest. They started planning in earnest about August the 24th, if I remember correctly. So there you go. That may not mean anything, but like I said, just a side note, something to consider. Interesting little data point.
Parameters from August 10 of 2025, because that's only a month. Let's expand it back 6 months. Still only that hit. And still only April 20th. And if you remember,
everybody, please like the video. Please, please, please. I would so much appreciate it. And if anybody's listening that is not subscribed, please do that too. And share.
C Center. Was it Low C Center that had the April hit? One of these had an April hit. What one was that? I already closed it out. So in the District of Columbia, Mauser 98 has been searched on exactly 2 dates. There's not even enough correlating data here to add up anything else. Well, let's go outside. Remember, our good friends in Huntsville like to search the same things as Huntsville 1. Now, granted, maybe.
Thank you, Miss Susan. You probably already done it, I'm sure.
Maybe it's like that everywhere. So let's try a medium-sized state. Let's do Tennessee. That's a nice medium-sized state. Okay, so one day.
It's a nice state in general. That's God's country, Tennessee is.
Let's do Ohio. That's a kind of a bigger state. Several metro areas. Got a hit there. Okay, so maybe this is just statistical noise. Maybe there's nothing to it. Arizona? No. Let's try Colorado. They hung out there. No. Let's try Utah. No. So, hey, maybe it's just statistical noise. That's not something I would have showed you had I done the research on that. Well, what else could we look up? What else was it about? What else was it about the shooting? Frank Turek? That was one of his buddies. He was the guy that was allegedly given baseball. I think he was the guy allegedly given baseball signals. And I want to say right now, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe he was involved.
My, how things change.
But I am going to tell
Ask Allie; she can tell you all about Frank Turek. She's been going hard after him and all the pastors. The Jack Hibbs and Rob McCoy's.
you in a minute why I think someone on the Charlie Kirk team could have been involved, or somebody had intel into the Charlie Kirk camp.
That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get on with Allie, and I'd like to talk a lot about all these pastors. I haven't had a chance to dig into them as much as she has, and I know she's been going into that hard. So that would probably make a pretty good show.
Those are your two options. I don't believe that this assassination, I said I wasn't going to do any conclusions. Never mind. Scratch that. Maybe that's another show. Let's do Frank Turek. Because I think this will clear his name, frankly. Was that his name, Frank Turek? Let me look this up. You guys are seeing research on the fly here.
Amen, Miss Susan.
Yeah, Frank Turek.
Wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, that's his name. Okay, so this is good because I have the date of the shooting excluded here. Everything starts before. In Utah, there's no searching of Frank Turek. Let's go Washington, D.C. metro area.
Uh-oh.
There's Frank Turek. But maybe that's just something that happens. Let's do Huntsville, Alabama. Nothing. So Washington, D.C. metro area. So let's just do the District of Columbia. Let's exclude Virginia and Maryland. Oh, that's what I was coming from there. I'm trying to exclude you, Frank. Colorado. Let's just do a random state in the middle of the country. Did we try Utah yet? Is that where we started? Damn, Frank. Trying to help you out here, brother. Seem like a likable guy. Oh, here's a hit. Oh, Florida. Ooh, great. The day before. Okay, so the day before the shooting, somebody in Florida is searching Frank Turek.
That's nice.
Let's try a big state, California. Surely we'll get. No. Texas. A few hits. Is he from Texas?
You from Maryland, Miss Susan? Wow. Well, I don't know if you can tell by the way I talk, but I'm from Tennessee. That's why I said it's God's country.
Let's try Arizona, because isn't that where Charlie Kirk is from? Or has been living? No, nothing there.
Oh, nothing
I wonder
there.
why Texas. What's up with Texas? What else are they searching? Debate. Oh, he must have been involved in a debate there or something. Is he a debater? Is he a master debater?
I know a lot of those master debaters.
Here's what I don't think I can do. I don't think this is.
That's right, Miss Susan. That's exactly right. I'm probably like an hour and a half away from Barron, something like that. We're in the same area. Me, him, Candace. There's several of us all here in this area.
Let's just speculate. If you're planning the Charlie Kirk assassination and you're searching terms, would you search the term assassin or assassination?
Aha! You're the one that keeps adding Canada to my analytics, Annie. That's awesome. Glad to have some of our northern brothers and sisters in here in the chat.
I mean, if you're searching the low seas, I'm not suggesting anyone use Google to plan this. That's not it. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just showing you the facts that are out there on Google Trends. If you want to draw conclusions, that's your business. But let's just run down that rabbit trail for a second. If you're gonna plan the Charlie Kirk assassination, what types of things would you want to Google search? You wouldn't want to Google search assassin. Oh, here's why I don't think. Okay, let me. You would have to assume.
Hey, I tell you what, I've been to Canada before, and I went to Toronto, and there was where I was at. There was a bunch of French people there, but everybody spoke English. But I have to say, it was absolutely great. Some people had me scared before I went up there, but I tell you what, those people were the nicest people. It was just crazy. I had a good time up there. Went like 3 times, I believe. Yeah, three times for work. And yeah, I had a good time. I hated buying Bud Light at there though, because good Lord, that's their imported beer. It was like $20 a 6-pack.
That's something.
$10 for a pack of Marlboros over 10 years ago.
That people have in mind. I just had a thought while I was talking. I want to do District of Columbia. I'll come back to that. I'm not ignoring you. I just don't want to forget to do this. I want to do Frank Turek, but I want to go back like 3 years and 6 months and see if that noise disappears. Yeah, I figured it would, which means it wasn't a huge search. So let's go back a year and 6 months. Yeah. So it's just a small search. And apparently there's an author named Frank Turek. I'll look it up. Yeah, okay. I'll play the game. Utah death penalty. But again, let me tell you something. That's weird that Utah death penalty was searched in the District of Columbia the days leading up to it. But and in February sometime randomly. I don't think if you're going to assassinate.
Annie, I don't know what it's like now, but I know when I went, I mean, obviously for a bigger city, it was nice. I live way out in the sticks, way out in the middle of nowhere, so I'm not much on really big booming places anyway. But yeah, I mean, it was nice. It was clean from what I saw. So yeah, but like I said, that's been over 10 years ago. So I'm not sure what it's like now, but yeah, when I was there, it was nice.
A public figure of Charlie Kirk's stature, and I don't mean to make him a president or a senator, although he's probably more famous than most senators. I hear people's names sometimes, and I'm like, oh, he's a senator from Idaho. I'm like, what? Really? This guy has power? I've never heard of him. I don't think anyone planning the assassination of a public figure is worried about the death penalty. I don't think it's an adequate deterrent.
If they were searching that, I'm guessing they were more interested to find. They were probably more interested in seeing how hard it was to get convicted of the death penalty, what kind of criteria there was, and you know, how often they actually end up handing a death penalty sentence down. They were probably just trying to figure out. They were probably just trying to figure out how easy it was going to be to get whoever their patsy ended up being. Obviously, they knew ahead of time who it was going to be, but they were probably more interested in finding out how easy it was going to be to get rid of their patsy.
But maybe.
Allegedly.
But maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they were. I know what he was thinking was they were more or less worried about possibly being involved and being part of the planning and being, you know, and catching a death penalty. But I don't think so. I think they were more concerned about the end game of their, you know, how hard it was going to be to get rid of their patsy.
That's another thing I can search here. I like doing this live on the fly. Actually, you know what I could do? I could expand some of the parameters around here, maybe clear Derek Maxfield entirely. Let me do that because I feel bad because I don't know that I believe that he was involved. I just wanted to do the search because other people were suggesting they didn't buy the fact that he wasn't involved. So I thought, well, let me clear his name. And then when I couldn't, I thought, all right, I'll go with it. But let me do this. I'm going to look up Derek Maxfield. I will expand some of these parameters. Obviously, in the past day. So let me get a custom time range. And let's exclude everything after the shooting. So we'll go to September 9th. Actually, I need to go lower than that. Let's go to September 2nd because I have to clear the whole week leading up to the shooting. Ooh, this is a good one. So let me expand this a little bit back. Let's do 6 months again. So in the United States, there's not enough information about Derek Maxfield in the weeks leading up to the shooting, which is good. If I'm Derek Maxfield, that's a good fact for me. I'm happy with that fact. Now let's go to the District of Columbia. Yep. So this is good. These are good facts for Derek Maxfield, and I figured they would be. There's one little blip in Arizona in May. Here's why the dates in the last 6 months to a year are relevant, though, because when would Charlie Kirk first have planned? Let me exit out of here for a second. When would Charlie Kirk first have planned that he was going to be? I'm gonna leave this. I'll come back to that. When would Charlie Kirk first have planned that he was going to be on Utah Valley University near the Losee Center on September 10th, 2025? Now I asked Grok. I said, "Hey Grok, when was the first public announcement of his appearance, of the Charlie Kirk appearance?" And the answer was this university first announced it, I think, on September 1st or 2nd. And he was there on September 10th. So they did.
Aren't we planning a meet up in the chat?
Give a lot of lead time. Which would, if that was the first public admission, it would kind of make everything before that pretty worthless. But then I thought, all right, Grok, was it on Charlie Kirk's website or XFeed or Facebook page? So I asked it that. And it goes back and says the first mention on any of those sources was, I think, August 27th or something. Oh, okay. Interesting. A little earlier. But it doesn't really explain the hits on the names that came, the Losee Center and all that, weeks or months ahead of time. But then I thought, wait a minute. That's nonsensical. I have been involved in planning large events. I've been to large events that have been planned. Especially on a tour. You don't just plan it the day before you announce it. You've got to contact the university, the chapter. You got to send out a note to your chapter. Hey, I'm going to do a fall tour. If you're interested in hosting me, let me know. That probably happened. And then you get a bunch of responses. And you sift through the responses. And you try to sort of plan out, maybe regionally. I'm going to start on the West Coast. I'm going to work my way east. I'm going to start in New York. I'm going to work my way to Los Angeles. And you start going through all this. And then you sort of think, okay, well, let me I'll start reaching out to people. So you reach out to the chapters. Hey, what dates do you have available? Here are the dates I have available. And then you got to go to the university. You got to get a sponsor. And then you got to get a permission. You got to have a security plan. You might need a permit or something. I don't know. I mean, there are things associated with it. And then you have to line up your logistics. You saw what he took. I mean, it's a truck. It's an 18-wheeler or more of stuff they bring in. Their audio equipment, their security.
One thing about those security plans, if all the people around you that are responsible for coming up with said security plans know that they're not going to be necessary past September the 10th, then the events that you have planned past September the 10th don't necessarily have to have security plans, as we now know.
Security equipment. Should have said that. I wish there'd been better security equipment. So I'm not sure anything can be done. I mean, short of putting up bulletproof glass everywhere you go. I mean, at some point, you just got to trust faith that you're not going to get shot and killed by a psycho.
Of course, at this point in time, none of these issues have really been dove into much, but I'm sure now, in hindsight, Barron would agree that bulletproof glass would have done him no good whatsoever. I feel like he was under the assumption that there was a 30-06 bullet that killed Charlie Kirk by, hitting him in the neck. But I'm convinced, and I feel like a lot of y'all are convinced, that is not necessarily the case. I think they could have put up all the bulletproof glass they'd have wanted, and would have not done him any good at all.
But it takes time. It's months.
Hey, Rainin, good to see you there. No, I was running a few minutes late. That's one bad thing about those clocks that hang up on the wall. All the other ones change automatically, but if you're not sitting there holding one of them in your hand and you just keep glancing over at that clock that's set an hour off, it can be an issue. So
it could be upwards of 6-9 months or more from the time you first think, hey, team, let's plan a tour for the fall. And there'd be emails going back and forth. And at some point, there would be an email that went back and forth and said, either to Charlie or Charlie's manager or the logistics coordinator or the events coordinator or whatever. I mean, you can't get a team. This is a well-funded operation. Tens of $1 millions a year spent in this organization. This was not a fly-by-night guy just showing up. Charlie was well made. I heard rumors of how much money was going through that. I don't know, but it was in the tens of millions of dollars annually. Well, you got a security team you travel with. You got to get. So at some point, there would have been an email out that said, hey, we can get on the Utah Valley University campus. We'll be in the little courtyard. And then somebody, if they saw that email, could look and say, this is where Charlie's going to be. Now, whether they had an inside man that said, hey, here's Charlie's itinerary, where he's going to be the next 6 months, or whether somebody had access to it. There was a weak point. Somebody infiltrated his email system or his text messages, or somebody used a government program to look at his emails or text messages. We know that exists. There have been news items about that. Everybody tends to ignore it, but hundreds of millions of searches of your private information done by non-government employees. So anybody could look at it. But you will inevitably discuss where you're going to be. So if somebody wanted to look up, now let's go back and see if this timeline makes sense. If somebody wanted to be where you were going to be, they might know 6 months ahead of time where you were going to be. They may have known before Charlie Kirk knew. They certainly could have known 2 days before. Again, assuming somebody in the Washington, D.C. metro area, and this is Washington, D.C., I confirmed, it's not Maryland or Virginia.
Yeah, and you've got to consider somebody like Charlie. He didn't seem like too much of a micromanager. He had this close circle, people that he trusted, whether for better or for worse. But he had these people that he trusted, and I feel like his whole attitude was, I love to do speaking arrangements. I love to give speeches. I love to debate college kids on campus. So let me do that, and y'all handle the rest. I could be wrong on that, but that, to me, that's just the feeling I got. And I'm sure that is probably pretty near accurate, what Barron just said. I would say that more than likely, Charlie did not say, okay, we're starting here first. I would say that he told them, hey, we need to go on tour, get it all sorted out, and tell me where we're going to be first. Now, could be wrong in that, but that's kind of the way I feel like it probably went. And so So yeah, I'm sure there was probably several somebodies that knew before Charlie where he was going to be first.
Oh, that's weird. Did you catch that? I'm scared to scroll back down. How did I miss that before?
Yeah, Miss Susan, and that's just makes it that much. That makes it that much worse. It's really sad because, by all appearances, allegedly, all those people that he trusted the most, I guess, were probably those that he should have trusted the least. Probably should not have trusted at all. It's the way it seems, anyway.
Oh, because that's not excluding it. Okay, that makes sense. Shooting. I got scared there for a second. But somebody in Washington, D.C.
And something else. I mean, I remember Charlie saying, and you've got these guys that have come out since talking about how much of a genius Charlie was with his time and with the whole finances and all this stuff. But look, Charlie said himself, I believe it was that last interview he gave, a matter of fact, the day of September the 10th, earlier before he made it to UVU. I cannot remember for the life of me who that guy's name was, but he had flew in, to do his podcast and then flew into UVU, or flew in to be at UVU. But he said on that show, he's even said, look, if it wasn't for these people around me, I keeping up with time and all that is just not my thing. And I have to depend on these people around me. If it wasn't for them, things wouldn't get done. So, yeah, I agree that, or I feel like, he handed off a lot of that responsibility to them, and he trusted them to to do the right thing and to take care of things. And they probably did the right thing, just probably the right thing for themselves and not necessarily for him.
2 days before the shooting, searched the Losi Center. They certainly would have known 2 days ahead of time. Yeah, this comment is where I was headed. 6 months ahead for security reasons. Sure. I think there's at least a 6-month lead time from where you know where you're going to be, or at least your team knows where you're going to be until the actual date of the performance. I mean, certainly the run of show had it before September 8th. And your security team would have to have looked at a Google map and mapped it all out. This is the one I want to look at. Closest location for police department. Now, this is going to be an interesting search. And I do want to keep this to an hour, and I'm at 58 minutes. Oh, goodness gracious. Let me do this. I'll use this one. Let's see here. What's the name of the town? Orem, Utah. Have we even searched Orem, Utah? Oh, that's not includes that day. Let's go to, so this is a 6-month look on Orem, Utah, and then I'm going to look at the Orem, Utah Police Department in just a second. But give me just a second. I want to engage a curiosity that just hit me. Orem, Utah, no search there. Yeah, there is a search for Orem, Utah in Washington, D.C. area. Before. Look at that, right there. Between August 31 and September 6th, someone in Washington, D.C. searched Orem, Utah. Now, they might have a kid going to Utah Valley. Who knows? That's weird. Let's just try the District of Columbia itself. Maybe that will exclude it. Okay, that was a shooting. So let's go Orem, Utah Police. Actually, you know what? Do we know where the Orem... It would be the campus police. Oh, it'd be the campus police, David. So on this one right here, the closest police department is going to be on campus.
Right.
So that kind of screws up that whole search. That sounded interesting. I'm not opposed to that search, but there's just not much there because of the... thank you, Kevin. I thought so. Hey, this brought me out of retirement. This brought me out of retirement. I hadn't intended to do a podcast again anytime soon. And let me talk about that. I'll wrap up with this. Several months ago, I stopped doing my weekly podcast. I was doing it on Sunday night at 7. I went at 6 today. And I told you I would fill you back in and get started again one day. And I don't know if it's going to be regular from this point forward, but I made everything private and all that. You could probably guess why. And that's all I'll say. You could probably guess why I made everything private and stopped talking on air on everything that came to my mind in a given week. But I do want to get back to it.
All right. Very good show. I always watch all the way down to the last minute, but I've already seen the rest of that, and it doesn't really necessarily address any of these issues. So that was his first real podcast back, and yeah, he was just going over all that. But anyway, glad he came back out of retirement, as he said there, because he is definitely the man. Um, so he did, God, I don't remember now, 4 episodes, I think, on Google Trends, maybe something like that. So um, if everybody, yes, I did see his show tonight, Miss Susan. Really, really good. Um, well, we're definitely smack dab in the middle of the Truman Show. That's for sure, Annie. Um, yes, it was good, as are all his shows. I love Baron Coleman. Um, and you know, he goes long. I could probably pretty much just base this whole thing on just boiling down his shows, condensing them down a little bit. But I like to do a variety of different creators. So anyway, I think he did. I think he did like 4 episodes on the Google Trends. So if everybody would like for me to, I may just take the next several shows and do the same thing, or they can go on to something else if everybody would like. But as long as everybody enjoyed this and wants to continue on, we'll revisit the whole thing. And one other thing that I was going to bring up and show y'all, we might pull this in a little bit on the next one. We'll definitely pull it in at some point. Um, let me, sorry, I should already have this up. Let's see. And I can't even remember. I can't even remember who did this. I can't even remember who actually put this together, but it is some killer work. Whoever did it was definitely doing the Lord's work. All right, Miss Susan, that's all I need to hear. I don't see any objections in there, so all right, let me see here. Let me share this with you, with y'all. Okay. This is whokilledcharliekirk.com, and it is absolutely amazing. I don't know if y'all have seen this yet or not. Okay. But what we have, all right, let's see here. Actually, here, let's see. We'll go to the timeline. There's all kinds of good stuff on this. So, all right, so up here we've got official, and this has, and maybe y'all seen this, maybe not, but okay. Well, good, Miss Susan. I'm glad to be showing it to you. All right, no objection. All right, Miss Rain, sounds good. All right, so we've got the official, and you can do these both at the same time, but you've got the official timeline. And so basically, if you look at this, okay, so basically, if you look at this, you can see these dates. So here we go, September 11th, 2025. This is, okay, see, emergency paving of UVU courtyard, crime scene. And it's also tagged with the theory that goes along with. But see, if we click on that, then see, it actually gives a detailed rundown of all of the just all of the details that go along with that. And then it's got its sources here. Like I said, whoever put this together did an absolute amazing job. I'll try my best to keep Eric out of it, Miss Raining. Let's see. Let's turn the official off and just do the power play. Okay, so May 2025. All right, let's see. Okay, so yeah. So we'll probably look at some of this because if you'll notice, all right, one of the first things, well, let me scroll back up. All right. Come on now. May 1st. I'm sure that thing goes further back than that. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties doing this live. I haven't used it that much. Maybe y'all can tell that. Anyway, all right. We'll just go with this for now. I'll play with it some more between now and then. So anyway, if you notice here on this is Rode Wireless Go 2 searched from our greatest ally. If we click on that, Baron Coleman stated that the Rode Wireless Go 2, the microphone type worn by Charlie Kirk, was searched from an IP address originating in our greatest ally 8 days after the initial surge in search activity. So this has got all of this. If you look right here, January 1st, 2023, Lance Twigg searched from DC. And that's 2023 and late 2023, nearly 2 to 3 years before. Down here, it talks about how Thomas Matthew Crooks was searched in January 2024. All right, Losi Center was searched April 6, 2025. Mauser 98 was searched April 20th, 2025. See, Tyler Robinson's defense attorney, Kathy Nestor, she was searched on April 21st, 2025. And so there are all of these different things here. So I'll probably be pulling some of this in just because they're just, it's so handy. And so like on this one, all right, well, let's take this one, for example. Scroll down here, it says sources, Baron Coleman. If I click on that, look here, bam. And we can do this.
Pasadena, California, I believe. He is a been doing this a long. Maybe Novak is the one who was the. Oh hell, I don't know. But he's on the team, so let's look and see. Was he searched in D.C. or overseas? Yeah, actually, he was. Actually, he was in D.C. May 11th.
Anyway, I was just giving you a little sample of that. It is absolutely, yes, it is. It is really, really good. I don't know, like I said, I can't remember who I was involved in putting this together, but they did some amazing work here. It doesn't matter anything you can think of. It goes through every theory that you can imagine that has been talked about, and everything has got it's in the timeline, and it's all interactive. Yeah, we like the tease thing. Hell, that's the only way to do it. Yeah, definitely. This website goes into everything. It's one could build a whole show just off of this website, or use it just to go along with the Baron's actual show. But look here, you look at analysis. You've got investigation overview. You got exploding mic theory. And like I said, also, now we're on the power play timeline is what they call it. But we could go to official, which is literally the timeline of just the official Fed slop narrative timeline. So you can do either or both of them together. Investigation overview. The two narratives, it explains the two narratives. The build up, the things that happened beforehand, like the trip to the Hamptons and all that stuff. Yeah, there you go, Miss Susan. I like being on the big screen. Makes me feel good. Let's see. Yeah, so right here we got the build up, the motives. And whoever did this is like me and really leans heavily towards the exploding mic theory, so that's not a bad thing either. So it goes into how it would be done, what would it look like. God goes into those plastic looking hands. There's the throat coat. All right. Anyway, there's just a little general idea of how that thing works and what all's on here. It is just amazing. It is so full of information. Yes, he does, Miss Susan. And I have been in touch with John Bray. I have not been able to get a hold of him recently in the last couple of weeks, but yeah, there you go. That's a good way to do it, Miss Rain. And so I gotta make sure I keep my light and everything just right then. I don't want you to have me all washed out on the big screen. um, but yeah, so I have been in touch with John Bray, and I talked to him about a month ago, give or take. I haven't been able to reach him just recently, but he did say that he was working on doing some testing, that he wanted to finish that first. That way he could come on the show and actually break news. Now, I'm not 100% sure that he's still planning on coming on, but that was the last thing I heard from him. I assume he's just trying to get done with whatever he's doing. So let's just, I'll try to stay in touch with him and keep y'all updated on that. But the plan is to have him on the show here pretty soon, and hopefully to break some really exciting news. So, yeah, John Bray is as smart as he'll be for sure. I really, really like him. I mean, I heard the exploding mic theory. I heard that mentioned there at the very beginning, and I just kind of laughed it off, and really never gave it any more thought until I heard John Bray speak on it. And when I heard John Bray speak on it, I was like, hmm, this may not be just some kooky, crazy idea. And I had to go back and listen to him a second time. Once I listened to him that second time, I was like, yeah, there's something to this. So I started digging into it myself. I don't know if everybody here's seen it or not, but I've done actually 2 episodes on the exploding mic theory. So if not, y'all can always go back and watch those. All right. Well, that's the end of Mr. Barron, and I'm sitting here rambling, and we'll be on here all night if I don't stop. So please, everybody that's here right now, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. And definitely like the video, and share on X, share on Facebook, share wherever you can. Right now, while I'm small, I need all the help I can get pushing this out there. One of these days we get a little bit bigger, YouTube will help out. So absolutely, you're welcome, Miss Susan. And I'm going to try my best to do this again tonight. Tomorrow night. Sorry. Just keep an eye out for the notification. So if I don't do it tomorrow night, obviously for sure I'll do it Tuesday night. But I do plan on trying to do this again tomorrow night. We'll hit up episode number 2 of the Google Trend Search. So. All righty. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for coming out and watching and hanging out in the chat. It's always a ball. And yeah, again, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And I will see y'all next time. Nighty night.